Welcome to the Path Radio Spotlight. I am your host, Guido Prino, telling you that today's guest doesn't play it safe, and neither does his music. He's the front man of a band that's been cutting through the noise with grit, volume, and attitude. I'm talking about Drew Cagle, the driving force behind Drew Cagle and their reputation, a band that isn't here to blend in. They came out swinging with their debut Haunted, and now they've doubled down with Bad Attitude, a raw, hard rock record that punches just as hard as it bleeds. The album features a killer lineup of studio musicians, was produced by a guy who's worked with legends like the Eagles and Sammy Hagar, and even features a guest appearance on the title track by Tracii Guns. If that doesn't tell you where Drew's headed, nothing will. Born from rejection, shaped on the road, and built with the kind of fire most bands fake, Drew's music is rooted in heart, defiance, and the belief that rock still has something to prove. This is a guy who turned hometown resistance into fuel, walked into Nashville and made it his own, and who's now taken his band to bigger stages, louder crowds, and unapologetic territory. Drew Cagle, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hey man, I'm doing good. I don't know how I'm ever gonna be able to beat that intro right there.
Hey, would you take it and maybe play it at the start of one of your shows or something? Is it worthy?
I mean, it's about the closest I've seen to one worthy, that's for sure.
You know what? Someday I just want to be able to come to one of your shows and just say, and now the baddest band on the planet. Like just shout that out. I don't know if you'd
Well,
let me
you
do that.
let me know whenever if we come by you on tour, you come and I'll make sure you can do the intro for us, man.
Oh, that would be so sweet. But you know what? I'm not gonna wear these shades, Drew. I'm not gonna wear these sunglasses that I've got because I gotta tell you,
You
I
should.
I wanted you should. That's so cruel. So I wanted to wear shades because I was like, I want to look as cool as Drew. I don't know if the shades would even help me do that, but I was like, I want to look as cool as him. So I go and get these sunglasses. Which ones are I wear them like on a regular basis outside, and I put them on, and I bloody thought I was going blind looking at the screen tonight, and you know why? Why is that?
Yeah. So it seems like you actually did the same thing I did, and you got those polarized lenses, and they'll make you pay more for them, and they say they're so much better. But then if the light hits them a certain way, they'll just go completely dark. And I made that exact same mistake getting a pair of stage sunglasses one time, and the bright lights hit me, and just for 1 second I couldn't see the crowd or anything, and I thought I went blind as well. And almost tripped over half the shit on stage. So I'm glad that I learned quickly to stay away from the polarized lenses when you hit the stage. There's a pro sunglasses tip from Drew Cagle right here.
There we go. Nobody can say that we don't teach them anything other than just about music and rock and roll, right? There we go.
Exactly, exactly. This is where the real important stuff happens.
So speaking of important, look at you've been spending time on the road. You're making new music. I got to know something. When you do get a day off, I don't know if you do either. Like you're pretty hardcore at this stuff. Tell me something. What's something simple or grounding that you like to partake in to maybe recharge a little bit?
That's a great question. Actually, I don't get to do it as much as I like to, but the thing that definitely helps me is I have a little bit of property out like in the woods by where I grew up, and we have like a little pond out there, a cabin, some couple fire pits, some swings, and if it's a nice day, I like to just go out there and kind of be alone or bring my acoustic guitar and play by the fire or something like that. It's always um, good to get away from the noise, and that's always a good place for me to do that.
I thought you were gonna say like go fishing or something else, but you're staying true to your roots. You're still with your one of your guitars and playing it out a bit, eh?
Yeah, there's a little bit of fish in there too, but you never
Yeah.
know. Sometimes that's a campfire. There's no better place to inspire you to write a song than a campfire, man.
It's true. Is there look at have we gotten some from the campfire that we've heard? Is there
Oh
a
well, the Haunted music video, the Haunted by Your Love music video, was actually shot in front of a campfire. So, I'd have to really dig into thinking which songs may have been written by a campfire. But I'll tell you, at least a few of them, I'm for sure a few of them on Haunted, had to have been at least conceptualized in some way by a campfire for sure.
That's right on. That's right on. I love that too. I love the campfires and throwing in an extra log and there's something else, something spiritual that happens when that's going on, eh? You're just with one. You're with one, right?
Yeah, yeah, a little less technology, a little more
Yeah.
nature, right?
Unplugged. But speaking of plugged, and I want to dive into the reason you're here, and it is to talk even more music and the music that you're doing. Uh, Bad Attitude is out, 8 songs on the album. Um, how do you feel that it speaks to where you are now creatively and personally compared to, when you released Haunted, which you mentioned, right?
Yeah, I mean, what it was a totally different mindset. It's funny. I think we've talked about this in the past that even me right now is a different mindset than I necessarily had when it was time to make Bad Attitude or Haunted. But when Haunted was being like conceptualized and recorded, it was very much a young dreamer just wanting to show the world his art. And then when Bad Attitude came into it, it wasn't as much that. It was more kind of it was more aggressive. There was more. I had a chip on my shoulder from some things that had happened in between the two records, and I had something to prove. And it was more not as much I want to show you my art is I'm going to make something that you have to listen to, and I'm going to make something that um, proves that I can create something great and I can create a great rock record. And that whether you like me or you don't like me, um, this will stand on its own without me or my reputation being thrown into it. So it was very much a competitive and adrenaline fueled feeling coming into creating Bad Attitude because there was absolutely something to prove, especially when I doubled down and up the ante by going to work with all these big names in the industry. It was one of those things, well, where I was like, I know they're going to bring their best, so I have to bring my best and even better than I could ever even imagine. So, and it turned out amazingly. And it was one of those things, like I said, that I think the competitive landscape that it really was during that recording process, it was definitely like a huge collaborative process, but there was something that was in there that I think came through in the recordings of the record where you can just kind of feel the adrenaline that we had pumping through these 8 songs.
So as you move to this sort of unapologetic, record, and
Uh-huh.
you say I'm getting some other big names out there. One of those big names is Tracy Guns, notably known for having been in L.A. Guns and Guns N' Roses. He's featured on the title track, Bad Attitude. What brings Tracy Guns in, and what did his involvement bring to us to the song sonically or emotionally that maybe and I dare to say it wouldn't have been there otherwise.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Tracy was to me, he was like the bow on top of the gift, man. Like it was we had the entire record finished. Um, including what we thought was finished with Bad Attitude. It was that was just one of those songs that was struggling a little bit. It was the title track of the record, and it felt like I had been holding its hand all the way through this recording process, and there was just something that it was missing, and we all felt it, and it was already known because I had decided earlier um, in the recording process that Bad Attitude was going to be the name of the record. I even when I knew that that wasn't the strongest song on the record at the time, I doubled down because it was one of those things that I had a concept in my mind, and Bad Attitude had to be the title. And the songs were the same way. The way I wanted them to run had to be that certain way to where Bad Attitude had to be the center. And so we were actually waiting to do like to release the album and to set a date with it because I was just holding on to Bad Attitude. It wasn't quite ready, and I was missing something. And then we did a run of shows with LA Guns in February. I think it was February 2024. And we opened with Bad Attitude, both of those shows. Um, and Tracy Guns, ended up coming up to us. We saw each other backstage, and we're like, "Hey, man, great show! It was a blast and all that stuff." We got talking a little bit, and he ended up liking the song. And then, lucky enough, within that next week or so, we were both off the road. So I shot him a message and I said, "Hey, man, don't know if you got some time. Would you ever want to play on something like this?" And I sent him over the track, and immediately sent me back his guitar track that he played on the record, and it just elevated the entire thing. It was one of those. I tell people in an album called Bad Attitude and a song called Bad Attitude, the one thing that was missing was the attitude, and that's what Tracy Guns brought to the table. And I think he just took this track that I had believed in for so long, and just was trying to figure out what it was missing to I mean, he did what Tracy Guns did best and showed us that
Yeah.
was missing. What was missing was really him. So that was I can't thank him enough for being a part of it.
That's awesome. So he really anchored Bad Attitude, and yeah, man. I mean, what other guy to help you out to do that than Tracy Guns, right? What a treat! I can't imagine. Um, so Bad Attitude and this sort of evolution that it has, the song, and then with the whole album. But then you have something very different. One of your other new songs, She Said, seems to explore this emotional fallout of rejection. Um, what makes you decide that it's the right time to show that vulnerability? And I say this especially after coming out swinging with even other aggressive tracks like All Figured Out. What's the fit in here?
Well, we're not just. I want to be very clear to people that we're not just another 80s hair metal band. There is very deep concepts and emotion in every single one of these songs, and I'm not just singing songs about strippers and blow and stuff like that. This is real things. This is authentic rock and roll. These aren't just branding terms. These are things that I want you to actually feel when you listen to the music. So, coming out with two swinging rock songs like All Figured Out and Bad Attitude, especially having Tracy Guns on it, I wanted something that showed a different element of us and my songwriting that people wouldn't get too invested in just the hard rock side of us too quickly. Because I want to keep the door open to many different genres, emotions, feelings, and stuff like that. Because as an artist, I don't want to ever put myself in a box as just the hard rock band. Um, I thought it was perfect, a perfect time to do it. To be honest, She Said um, is kind of in the middle of this story of heartbreak that I put right in the middle of this record about rebellion and stuff like that. And I think it adds a different element to it. But when you look at all the different themes and feelings that we're pushing through this record, there's these really adrenaline fueled, chip on your shoulder, go after yourself kind of songs, and then there's other songs that are about real emotion and uh, heartbreak and stuff like that's a little bit harder to talk about. So I wanted to talk
Yeah.
about a range of emotions all at the same period of time, and I didn't want to just be the band that comes and tells you how much we're all badasses instead of saying, hey, let's figure out a way to connect with each other through the music, which is what's the most important part of all of this.
Yeah, Drew, if I can offer too, before we got on, I was spinning on the pathradio.com. I listened to She Said, and then I followed it with All Figured Out, and just back to back. And you said, we're not just another, trying to be an 80s metal hair band or whatever, right? And those two songs next to each other didn't sound out of place. In fact, they were very complimentary. So, what I want listeners to realize in me listening to this and saying this was that I didn't listen to some kind of ballad that is misplaced on a record, surrounded just by a lot of noise. And I think there's a lot of depth to what you said when you say I'm writing with emotion and I'm putting these things out there with purpose. And so I'm hoping that others, as they're listening, are kind of going, "Huh, okay, I get it. It's not just a ballad in the middle of a rock song, right? Because it isn't. She said isn't. It
Yeah.
just fits really nicely."
Well, it's one of those things that uh, it's all a story. It's not they're not all singles. I don't try to make singles. I try to create a story with multiple different songs. So She Said is a part of a story. It's corresponds directly with the songs If It's Not Love, So Cold, and Wine Talking. They're all stories about love. They're not, and they're placed in that order for a specific reason. So if you listen to the record with the purpose of hearing a story, as opposed to just something loud to play in the background, you're gonna really experience something a lot cooler than you may have expected from just another rock band.
I'm so glad you offered that insight to us because I hesitate sometimes when I get artists, like yourself on the show to say, hey, does it tell a story? But and I've always loved when I get a record and I do get a story from song to song, because there's some kind of theme, and I could dive right into it. So great. Now we know bad attitude, song to song. There's it's connected and there's a story. And this is starting to make even more sense as we're having this conversation. Now, talking about orders and songs and things like that. You've mentioned in past interviews that your live set sometimes changes. How has the energy of the bad attitude tracks reshaped your stage presence or even its pacing?
Well, we have to be in a hell of a lot better shape, that's for sure. It's they're all very quick songs and very high energy. So especially with my performance style running around the stage like that, it was one of those that was like, okay, well maybe we don't put Southside San Francisco and You Think You Heard Everything and All Figured Out and all these songs that are just balls to the wall. Maybe we don't put those all right next to each other. Maybe we throw in She Said or throw in Wine Talking or Back to Light or some of these other songs are a little bit slower so we can maintain a pace that moves people on a journey and stuff like that through the 30 minutes to an hour to 2 hours that we get to be in front of them every night. Um, it reshaped the set a little bit for sure. I mean, it's actually reshaping our entire set list right now with how successful the album's been so far, which is great to hear. But it was definitely in my mind, I had a different set list in mind for hitting the road this summer. And then some stuff happened and these songs started to really blow up on their own and Bad Attitude and All Figured Out and She Said all really took off. And so um, it's going to be fun for me to be able to sit down and reshape what I think the new set list is going to be like for people and how I can make it new and exciting for all these new fans that are coming in and seeing this for the first time.
Drew, tell me something. Sometimes you go in and you've got a set and like you've got your order. Does it happen very often where something happens with the crowd or the audience or some event takes place and then you kind of tweak it or you do something a little different? Has that happened very often?
Oh yeah, yeah. You can tell I can tell pretty quickly if my set list from before the show is going to work or not. Actually, oftentimes I can tell by if there's a band ahead of us, an opening band, and I can tell by however the audience is giving their reaction. Sometimes I'll just go into the back and start changing the order of songs or bring new songs in, just because sometimes the crowd's really energetic and sometimes they're a little tired and you got to get them into it. So um, I definitely try my best to keep my finger on the pulse of what the crowd's feeling at the time. And honestly, that's one of those great feelings of a live show. Whenever you're like, maybe this next song shouldn't be played right here. I think this crowd is really itching for, a big one, or they're really itching for something that's going to really punch them in the face. And then you get to switch some songs up and do that on the fly. And it's always really cool when it works. So sometimes you change things and you're like, you know what, maybe that other song, maybe that one should have stayed there. But it is a great feeling being able to change it in the middle of the show and seeing the pop from the crowd when you do make that right decision. And sometimes it can make or break a show.
That's cool. Thanks for the insights. I was just curious, right? And just to be able to change on the fly, I admire that. Like I'm the kind of guy that goes in and go, oh, I don't know. What if I change it? What if it doesn't go right? What if it goes wrong? I'd like be second guessing myself. But I guess that's why you're the pro at this. Um,
I think that's the beauty of it, right? That's um, the beauty of rock and roll and the beauty of what we do is it can always fall off the rails. We don't use backing tracks or anything like that. So if the guitarist misses a guitar chord, you hear it, and that's kind of what makes it fun. If it's perfect, then it's just some other manufactured thing. It's not real, and so the realness of it is knowing that when you make those last minute decisions, there
yeah.
is there is some risk, but there is a payoff on the other side.
So speaking of payoff, Alice Cooper, he gives All Figured Out a major signal boost on his radio shows. It's called Alice's Attic. Um, Tell us about your reaction when you find out that he put you into rotation, and then also that the song secures a number one spot on classic rock radio charts last fall.
That was awesome, man. It's always cool when you hear like a big name like that, like Alice Cooper or somebody, say your name, let alone say your song and like it enough to show it to people. You know, the amount of people, uh, yeah, and just in my own experience, if I'm showing someone a song or if I use my platform to show someone a song, I really have to enjoy the song, right? Because you put your name on the line
Yeah.
and your credibility on the line when you show someone that. So for him to be willing enough to do that for us is a huge compliment, and I can't thank him enough for that. As far as it hitting number one, that was a crazy shock. I actually remember calling a few different people, being like, "Hey, did you check the charts this week? What does this mean?" And they were like, it's in the number one spot." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, but like, does that mean I actually like have a number one song? Like, what does that mean?" I'm waiting for the asterisk or something at the end of it, and they're just like, "Yeah, man, it went number one, so you have a number one song." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So that was a fun thing to for the first time experience. It's very shocking, and then you realize, okay, well, it's time to go back to work. We now we build off of this. We show people the rest of the story. So now we have something to hook people in to get them interested. And that was also why we picked All Figured Out as the first single, because it's the first track on the record. It's where the story starts. So if you're in for this ride with us by song one, then I have seven more chances after that to really wow you or show you something you haven't seen before.
Man, you do have it all figured out, and that's so cool and so deep. Um, Look, you talked about the raw emotion of songwriting, sometimes getting harder to tap into over time. I'm just curious, are there any songs that you've stopped performing? Because as you expand your catalog, maybe they feel too far removed as you continue your writing journey.
That is a an incredible question. Yes, yes, there are songs like that that happen. Uh, "Fate of the Outlaw" from Haunted is one of those songs that we haven't played live in a long time. "Haunted by Your Love" from the Haunted EP is another one of those songs. They when you kind of change a little bit and when you grow and when bad attitudes on the horizon and stuff like that, um, more of these ballads or slower songs tend to take the backside of things when people are really expecting the baddest band on the planet to come out and melt their faces with guitar solos, right? So you have to find the place in between that, and it was one of those things that there's only a couple ballads we play on the shows, and where I am now, I'm a lot more connected with She Said and Wine Talking than I necessarily was with Haunted by Your Love. And so is the crowd. And ultimately, it is my story and they are my songs. But um, I'm here to entertain the crowd, so I want to make sure that the songs that I'm the most connected to at the time, and especially the ones that they're the most connected to the time at the time, get played, so we can create memories together and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Do you think you ever go back to some of those and
I
revisit
think
them?
I think that's what makes it fun for fans.
Yeah.
When maybe we haven't played a show in 5 years or something like that, and they're there the first time we play it or play the song in 5 years, not the show. But I think that's always fun. I think I've said in the past I would love the opportunity someday down the line to recreate the entire Haunted EP with the team I made Bad Attitude with. I just think that that Nashville group could just take all those songs and uh, just all bring them up to a new level and knowing everything that I've learned in my journey now to when you look back at like the first thing you've ever released, you're like, man, I could have done that a little bit different or I could have done this and it would have really made this moment be more special for people. So as an artist, you always go back and think of stuff like that. So maybe I won't say no, but as far as right now, I'm very much more focused on what's the newest thing I can create from scratch for people.
So, staying with the idea of your focus and what you're doing, with the songs and just who Drew Cagle is from a mystery perspective, right? You've said rock needs mystery and danger again, right? You're introducing it, and you alluded to it earlier when we started talking. Do you feel like you're helping to reintroduce that edge to maybe a genre that's, I use the word gotten polished or perhaps predictable, Drew?
I hope so. I hope we can start to uh, put a little bit more of that edge and mystery and danger, obviously, but not just that. Nowadays, I look more at it where I just want it to be more authentic. I just want to feel something based on the music you're playing or the words you're saying, and it's really hard to do that in a modern climate when everything is so polished and very much predictable, like you said. Um, I'm ultimately I just want it to be authentic. And if it's authentically you and you're not trying to be somebody else, uh, then I'm for that. I not everyone doesn't have to be mysterious and dangerous. That's our thing, right? But I hope in some way we help open some eyes and definitely open some ears to some new ideas in rock and roll. Is crazy as saying that might be. I hope that we can do something to still move this genre forward because I don't think we're done yet.
So Drew, sticking with the idea of authentic, working with studio musicians who've played with everyone from like Elton John to Jelly Roll, there must be moments of it feeling surreal. Was there ever a moment in any of the sessions where you felt like, damn, this is real now? Or do we have people playing with you who are also saying that now about you?
Um, I don't know as much about the the people playing with me saying that. Maybe I don't know if they say it to me or not, but as far as like me actually in the sessions, there was a couple moments for sure. The When we first played the first song in the sessions, just even warming up to record, I think it was All Figured Out, and that had that big intro that has been played everywhere now. But to hear it the first time when I had only ever played it acoustically on my acoustic guitar, and then I tell everyone what to play, and then we get ready to go play it. Um, to hear the drummer for Toto hit the cymbals and hit the just the accents on that big hit, it was shocking. It was one of those things that it was just you felt the power in his playing that I hadn't ever heard a drummer play like that before, and I don't know if I ever have since. Um, Especially as how close we were, that was shocking because I for one of the first times I felt the emotion come out of um, the other instruments, just the exact same way I was trying to push it out of my voice and with my songwriting. So to see all of them do that all at once as All Figured Out was starting to be created for the first time, that was definitely a surreal moment. There was another one when we were in the studio and we were trying to figure out what to put in between the first chorus of She Said and the first verse. And we had the rhythm part down, but we didn't have that tiny little guitar lick that we put into it. We didn't have it yet. And I remember we were sitting there, we're like, it just needs something, it just needs something. And then I think it was Willie Nelson's guitarist um, just was like, "What if we tried this?" and played that lick. And I remember everyone in the room just getting real quiet and looking at each other. And then and he's like, "How was it?" And I remember us clicking the talkback mic, being like, "Yep, that works." And so that was a fun one too. There's a lot of these moments that you get along the way that you have to hang on to and not forget about because this thing does move fast. And uh, the sessions did move fast. It's hard to remember everything from it because you're filled with so much adrenaline at the time. But when it came down to it, the biggest thing where I was like, "Holy crap!" was hearing the final mixes
Yeah.
all together because I was like, "Oh wow, we actually might have done what we set out to do." And so and it's been great to see everyone kind of realize the same thing that, oh man, like this isn't like the last record. This is like something we haven't heard in a long time or we haven't ever heard before.
I love hearing the stories and just hearing you tell them because as you're doing that, I'm trying to imagine, the room and the conversation and the back and forth, and then have you having that moment with these guys, right? So, you brought up the last album again. Look, I want to ask. A lot of bands struggle sometimes to follow up a debut with something that you know, both evolves and that satisfies their fans. And you talked a little bit about it earlier when you said, yeah, there, you know, there's a couple of songs we've kind of like dropped them off a little bit, made some space, but we still want to remain, you know, true to what we're doing. But what did you learn? What was the thing that you learned from Haunted that helped shape Bad Attitude?
Oh, there was so many different things that I learned from Haunted that helped get bad attitude to where it was. I was a lot of learning what not to do. That's for sure. Um, Ultimately, it was the main thing that truthfully changed how I approached both records was um, I realized that no matter how good the story is, um, if the fans don't understand it and they can't be hooked into the story as quick as possible, um, then they're not going to invest in figuring out what the story is.
Mm.
So that was something that I really had to figure out. Instead of making so many 7-minute songs, maybe cut it down to three or three and a half, and instead of expecting the fans to know what I mean when I talk about the story and say it's a concept album, show them why it's a concept album, show them what the story is, and make these themes obvious to them, and so they can relate to them and sink their teeth in them and invest in them. And that was mainly how I approached the second record. And I wanted to figure out the correct way to bring a new emotion to the table that I hadn't quite shown to the extent that I could in the last record. That so I want it was a couple different things that helped lead into how Bad Attitude got evolved into a different area. And I hope when I go into making the next records, actually I know we'll go into a different direction again, and then we'll go and show you something you haven't seen before. Some of our fans are going to love it. Some of our fans are going to hate it, but ultimately, it's going to be another story, and it's going to be another chapter in my legacy. So,
Yeah, and you know, you said sometimes you have like a longer song or longer lyrics or longer music. It's not easy when you're invested in a song. It's not easy, I bet, to figure out how do I cut this back? Like what do I, you know, what is part of the story that I want to keep? What do I want to take out? Did you find that as a struggle?
oh yeah, that's definitely for me specifically as a songwriter. That's definitely my biggest struggle because you see how obsessed I am with all these different concepts and telling all these different stories. So when I want to tell a story, I want it to be the full story. So I want it to be the full 10-minute version of my entire story. But that just sometimes doesn't work, and you have to cut out so many extra lyrics and so many extra parts just to narrow it down to the meat of the story, so you can continue in the ultimate story, which is the record.
So talking about stories and you know, you being part of your story, there's an intentional persona around your look. Hat, sunglasses, definitely mystery. Um, is there a is there a line blur ever between Drew Cagle the person and Drew Cagle the performer?
Um, Maybe. I think we're the same person, to be honest. I just think there's different sides. There's different sides of every person. So I think uh, there's just a different version of me that gets to live out um, and come into light the way it's not necessarily gets to be shown as much when I'm on my own or just casually living my life that gets to come out when I hit the stage. And I think that's what leads into so much of the fun part of our shows and the musical expression because that is a piece of me and that is who I am. As much as it's a persona and it can be lost in branding sometimes, that's me and that's where I feel comfortable and that's honestly what I want. That's what I want the fans to see is it doesn't matter how you dress, how you look, how you want to be perceived. That's all for other people to worry about. You do whatever you need to do to feel the most yourself and to express yourself in your most authentic and real way. And my way just happens to be with some Ray Bans in my hat.
I'm wondering if the next album is going to be called Authentic. You're very closely tied to that. And I apologize, I get a little personal sometimes with the questions. And I might with my next one too, as I say, you've said that 2024 was your best and worst year. Has any of the chaos found its way into the songs that you're writing now or for any of the next albums?
Absolutely. Right. It's like I said, it's about my life. So the good and the bad, they come through with the songs, or otherwise, if I'm not writing songs based off of the tragedies or based off of the successes, then I'm doing a disservice to my fans because that's my job is to live my life and report it to the fans in songs. And so yeah, so the chaos of this last year definitely will be shown in the next, probably in the next coming albums, not just one. And like I said earlier, because of that, because it's so much different than this chip on your shoulder, I have something to prove feeling that I said we came
Mm.
into Bad Attitude with. Um, it will have a totally different feeling for the next record, and it'll have different stories and different ways we go about telling them that will probably be shocking to hear from a band labeled as the baddest band on the planet at this point in time, or as the newest rock band. So I always like to challenge people, or challenge the fans to keep an open mind, and I will definitely be testing that when when we get into the later records. That's for sure.
So let's talk about the later records because I thought at one point you said, "Look, I've got three or four written," but obviously you know you tweak them based on what's going on. I guess. What's your guiding decision about what to release when? Intuition, timing? Are you watching to see how each single lands first? Is this a decision made by the fire pit?
It's all it's all those, and definitely that's a place where the decisions would get made like this. Um, it's one of those things that yes, it's very much about timing. The new stuff isn't recorded yet, but um, it probably will start getting into the phase where we're getting ready to start recording it soon. I want to make sure I give my absolute full attention to this Bad Attitude record. Everyone on this thing worked so hard and was so incredibly talented that it wouldn't feel right for me to already shift gears to a third record. I just don't think I don't think that I think that's a disservice to the fans and to all the incredible people who worked on it. So I want to make sure I can give as much of my energy into it as I can. It's just very much like I did with the Haunted EP, and hopefully I bring that attitude to a new level much before. I want people to need the third album. As of right now, they just want it. So my job isn't finished quite yet. So when they need it, that will be when it's time for all this stuff to get together. Right now, I'm still cleaning up some of the songs, doing the nuances, like we're saying, figuring out what we can cut down and stuff like that to make sure the story still runs cleanly and has that raw emotion that can move people. So right now, the actual songs they're probably all finished, but there's so many different elements that have to go into making it first that get into before it's time to release it. But I don't think it'll be too long. But I want to just make sure that everyone can get invested in this era of Bad Attitude before I shut the door on them too quick.
We've got some solid songs on Bad Attitude, and I think that I always say sometimes you gotta spend some time with it. You gotta enjoy it, let them cure a little bit. And I think as a listener myself, right? Same thing. You know, I listen to them. I'm getting invested as I listen to the songs. And now that you put it that way, that I need it before I want it, it's going to be interesting as I continue to listen to the music, how I transition to need from want. But it's a journey that I'm hoping people come along with me as well. And as I'm spinning the songs, listen to them or stream them or buy them or do whatever they need to do to come along that journey, Drew. Look, I know you have a website, drewcagle.com. What's going on there? Do we have new merch, new videos, new?
So we have some new music videos. Obviously, we had the one for All Figured Out. And we just released the one for She Said. Um, we have some new merch that will be dropping soon. I'm kind of holding off a little bit so we can get a really cool merch drop. getting gearing up for the summer and some of the shows that we're getting ready to announce. Um, there are vinyls for the first time. We have never had vinyl records yet, and so it was really cool that we finally got to get some vinyls for Bad Attitude and get some special liner notes and extra album art that you can find only on the vinyls to make them a little bit more special for the fans. We only made 100 of them, and a lot of them is already sold. So if you would like a vinyl, make sure you go and get it now. There's actually there's a little misprint on it, so it will be absolutely as rare as it gets. There will be only 100 ever made specifically like in that version for the first pressing, which I think makes it cool for any collector. So we have those all available on the drewcagle.com as well.
Right on. I think you just go there and you go to the shop link, right? In the top right hand
Yeah,
corner.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. We're gonna check that out. We got a collector's edition of the 100 that are available, and we've got some sales happening there. So that's exciting. I love the idea of the vinyl. I get excited when I hear about that too. Um, Look, man, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate your time here and when you do this with us. And before you have to get going, I always like to ask, is there anything else that you'd like to leave us with?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, man. You do some of the best interviews. Definitely one of my favorite guys to do interviews with. You're very thorough, and you have really, really good questions. You do your homework, so it's always a pleasure to come here and do this with you. I think I think the thing I'd like to leave you with is just make sure to experience this record, make a memory out of it. That's the whole point of me ever making these records. I just want to give you a memory. Um, and so I hope you do that. Get a vinyl, get the CD, play it on your phone, turn the speakers up really loud, roll the windows down, go on a drive, uh, sit at a campfire, do whatever you got to do. But just make a memory with the record and experience the story, and relate to it in your own way. That's all I could really ask. And man, I can't wait to see you all this summer when we hit the road.
When people ask me why do you listen to Drew Cagle, and I can't just say that it stops at the music, Drew. I'm going to steal the word that you've used, which I'm a big fan of. It's authentic. You're authentic, and the music is authentic. And for me, where I'm at in my journey with music, that's where I need to start at. So thank you for that, and thank you for your very kind comments. Very much appreciated. Big thanks to Drew Cagle for hanging out, reminding us that rock's not only alive, it's got a bad attitude and something to prove. If you think you've heard everything, you haven't heard Drew Cagle and The Reputation. Their new album swings hard, bleeds real, and doesn't flinch. Whether it's the defiance of All Figured Out, the stormy emotion of She Said, or the raw honesty in title tracks like So Cold and If It's Not Love, this record hits from every angle. And if you've ever had wine talking or tried to live right in a world that keeps throwing punches, there's a song in this album with your name on it. Go stream or buy Bad Attitude wherever you get your music. Catch the band on tour. Keep an eye out because this story's just getting started, as you've heard. I'll have Drew's socials in the show notes. You'll hear their music on thepathradio.com and, of course, on all the streaming platforms that Drew shares it on. Drew, thank you again for coming on the show. I wish you all good things to the band, to the new music, and I do look forward to having you back on the show again.
Killed it, man. I look forward to doing it again soon.
Take care, Drew.